You know, in the marketing world, there's a concept they call hook. It is an attention grabbing concept that is used, especially when it comes to advertisements, for the first 3 to 5 seconds. You're grabbing the attention of the audience so that they don't scroll away. It's the same thing in life. In life, a lot of persons are comfortable living their life. But unless something happens that disrupt their flow, disrupt their predictable lifestyle, they will never take a stop and observe what's going to be happening today.
But before we jump into our topic today, we want to welcome you all back to the Morgan Dialogues. We have been missing in action due to recovering from Hurricane Melissa, but we are back fully restored and excited to talk about, oddly enough, we were inspired by the storm in the sense that storms can really expose things.
Yes.
And that's what we want to talk about today.
Definitely. I wanted to look back prior to the storm. For example, if you notice, we were living our life.
Yes. Business as usual.
Business as usual, living our life, enjoying life, whatever it is about life, we're just living it out. And then like within an instant, I think it was like a week at most, or maybe 2 weeks maximum, we heard of this storm coming.
Yes.
And then a lot changed.
Yes. And the crazy part about Hurricane Melissa was it seemed to slow down the closer it got to us. Right? So this came from the coast of Africa and made its way over, and it developed into a hurricane. And by then, most weather or meteorologists had predicted that this was going to be a category 5. And it was going between 4 and 5, but finally a 5. And the thing about this storm is that it hovered over the Atlantic Ocean right around Jamaica for 2 days. And they're trying to figure out, okay, where is it going? There was a chance it would go to South America. Maybe it'll switch up north. But nevertheless, it hovered around us for a couple days right before it hit.
There's something about this storm that we have to understand. God knew that this storm was coming. And he also prepared us for that storm. As a matter of fact, right before the storm came, it was, you know, those times like the end of the month where your stuff are running out. And you're like, why is a storm coming at this time? Well, we're not going to be replenished until maybe after the storm came. But God knew that we were going to have a storm. That is why, coming back to that, but that is why a few months prior to the storm, think about this. We were living here for over a year. I remember we were talking like a month before, 2 months, 3 months before at most. We were saying, you know, we don't have a neighbor yet. we don't have anyone where we could say we could go to this person's home. Well, you know, the landlord, that's different.
That's different,
But we don't have anyone else that we could say, oh, that's our neighbor, that's a friend of ours.
Like a neighbor that you know, you're familiar with, you guys converse.
Not one. 2 months before the storm, God welcomed us to a church. And we got some neighbors.
Who became very, very not influential, very impactful to us during the storm. Now, imagine if we didn't have them.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. So it was just a matter of time God had prepared us for this.
Yes. And going back to what we were saying, it was a time we were running low. And one of those neighbors of ours, they came through for us.
They went to the store and got some things for us. Like, God was really taking care of us so much. And the sad part too, I will say, is that a lot of people weren't taking this brewing storm seriously. Like, I remember walking and I passed this lady and she was like, what storm? What storm? I was like, it's coming. But she treated it
2 days.
That was like a couple days before. And people were saying, oh, it's gonna pass, it's gonna everyone's praying and hoping that the storm would be derailed, but some people were certainly not taking this seriously.
And you know, that's why we have to be careful, because in a sense, in here, where we live in here, it's a bit different from, let's say, where my mom lived. In the sense that prior to the storm coming, a few days before, leading up to the day, we didn't hear much batting, what do you call it now?
Rattling?
Knocking, fixing of the roofs.
Oh, yes. People trying to board their houses
together, repairs. there wasn't much noise, and there was a reason for that because, as I said, where we're living, majority of the houses were
structurally.
Yes. So here's where I'm getting at. These persons, well, majority of them here weren't really panicking because, in essence, they had already planned for this storm years back.
Right.
The type of building, as I said, this is based on years back.
Yeah.
We weren't ready as a country.
Yes.
I think we have learned our lesson from storms, previous storms, that I realize persons are making houses, buildings that is storm-proof.
Yes, yes.
In a sense. So there were less persons who were trying to fix a roof. And
or board their windows.
Hence, that is why even after the storm, there wasn't much structural damage
around here.
Because a lot of houses were resistant to that. But you know, that's it. That's all God
I think
works.
that's a good segue, though, into this topic about how storms can expose your foundations. You know, storms can expose things in your life that, you know, and we're talking spiritually too, because like there's storms like the weather, and then there are storms that God will often send in our lives for us to evaluate how structurally prepared or what have we been working on. What is our foundation something that allows us to withstand the storm
when it comes.
And you know, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the parable where our Lord talks about the man who builds his house on sand and on the solid rock, and when the winds and waves come, and then you find out what you're really made of. And sometimes I think what we have found is that the storm also opens your eyes to things maybe you didn't see before. So maybe at one point you walk into a situation and you're like, oh, this is so exciting, and oh, we have so much to look forward to, and then all of a sudden something rattles that beautiful moment, and then you start seeing the cracks, and you're like, oh wait, hold on. That's what the storm in general really taught us, is that you can see when things get hard, when you're challenged, when you're facing something that scares you or terrifies you, you're able to see how strong am I really? How strong is my faith? How strong is my marriage? How strong is my determination when I come against hurdles and obstacles and things of that nature?
To persevere. Two things. One, with my mom, and this person shared something that happened while they were in the storm. But with my mom, prior to the storm.
With our mom?
Yes, our mom.
Thank you.
Well, our mom.
My mother-in-law, but you're...
Yes, my side.
Yeah.
My family, we were concerned about where she was staying.
Yes.
And we were thinking whether to relocate her to probably one of my brother's place that could have been much structurally better, fitting for the storm. But personally, I knew that there was this big tree in his yard that there was nothing anyone could have done, because that's a humongous, like, I think you find those trees like in the wilderness type of stuff.
Forest.
The rainforest. So you're like, oh my gosh. Anyway, if something came to me, I remember someone had said to me once, it doesn't matter the grill you put on your house to protect it against thieves. She said, at the end of the day, God is the one that protects us. And I remember that. And I thought about it, and then I said, wow, if my mom goes to my brother's home, there's a chance the tree could fall. It could. It's a big tree. It's a humongous tree, but it could fall. Where she is, it's not the structurally the best. Something could happen.
It's an older house,
But then I remembered, you know what? God can protect you wherever you are. And I remember I called my mom. I remember they were having a discussion in the group.
A debate.
We should move on. Mom.
Mom needs to go here. She needs to go stay with,
I remember I called her. And I said, Mom, how are you doing? She said, I'm doing well. What is your plan? That's all I asked Mom. What are you going to do, Mom? I remember my mom said, I'm staying here.
Wow.
I said, why are you going to stay here? Because God is going to keep me.
That's right.
Immediately, I just went to our family group and I said, guys, Mom is okay. Because here's the thing. The storm was coming. But she was confident that God... No, mind you, even if God, let's say God didn't...
things didn't pan out that way.
The beauty is that she had the assurance that no matter what happened, God was going to take care of her. And she did... In fact, the storm didn't really
even touch them. It didn't really touch them.
It came to us.
Straight to us. which in of itself was a blessing because the houses and buildings here can handle that.
Yes, I think that's a beauty.
Yes, but I think even hearing you say that, a lot of us, I think storms expose where you've been putting your hope and your faith in, like your trust in, because granted, a lot of people could not access their money after the storm, right?
True,
and it was pretty bad.
It was a good thing we even got those supplies, because the money we couldn't even access it. Even when we get it,
and even after things recover, we still having issues, but whatever. But and so it's like, where are you putting your hope and your faith in when these things, even when the storm is brewing? So a lot of people were putting their hope in their houses, but a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people were displaced and had to stay at schools until the government could come in and do all those repairs. A lot of people put their faith in their money, so they thought, well, we'll be sure to get our money and go buy supplies and all that. But the stores were closed. You couldn't access the ATM machines, and so what do you do in those instances? And I really think that was the most valuable thing to me too, because as a Californian, we don't mess with hurricanes. We don't know. We know nothing about hurricanes. But last year we had one, Hurricane Beryl, and it didn't even compare to Melissa. But I was terrified with Hurricane Beryl because that was my first one.
Yes.
But with this Hurricane Melissa, I didn't feel that fear. And because, this time I said, no, God is going to keep us. He's going to protect us. And you know what? In our case, we were sheltered on all sides. Yes. Our little tiny apartment room, like sheltered on all sides.
Like someone living upstairs.
Yes, there's a unit upstairs, unit here. We have a house here. We have a wall back there. So we were pretty much sequestered in this safety zone, but my faith wasn't even in the structure. I was like, we're going to get through this. It didn't matter because a lot of places got destroyed. So it does show you that what have I been putting my faith in, that when a storm came, everything crumbled, right? A marriage built on, I married him for his looks, or he married me or I married him for his money, he married me for my looks. And that's all we did. There was no purpose. There was no vision. There were no values or even love that we would share. So when a storm comes in our marriage, whether that's financial issues, infidelity, whatever those things are, it would cause that marriage to break down entirely because our faith had been anchored in these very weak things. And so I feel like even when storms come, not only do they expose what you've been putting your hope in, but it also exposes, why have I been putting my hope in these things? Why have I been trusting this, that, or the next? And it does cause us to sit with ourselves and evaluate what really matters. How are we building? What foundation are we building on? So that if a storm comes the next time, it will barely scratch, the structure.
So technically, you won't know the type of foundation we have until a storm comes. So that is why it will expose. These storms will expose things. This person was sharing at the church that we were attending, and the person said, the mother was saying her daughter is like very active in the church and powerful person in the church and all these things that you would think of someone that's very, active,
very powerful
in the church, everything. But yet the mother was saying when the storm came, it's like she was crying. Like
she
baby.
broke down.
She broke down. In the storm. You see, and sometimes we wonder, God, why is this happening in our life? God, why are you bringing this in my situation? Why is this happening? Why don't you take it away? But the only way God knows, God knows our foundation, but the only way we
know, we're
are going to know that our foundation was faulty is when those storms come. Well, faulty or strong.
It's
when those storms will come.
And I think that's why the Word of God tells us to consider it a joy when you fall into trials and tests, because see, it's not really to destroy us. God doesn't test us to hurt us, to destroy us, but see, it's for our knowledge to know where we are, where I stand, because I don't want to keep going on. I think I'm good with God. Everything's right. I'm doing this, that, and the next. And then I die and I stand before him. He's like, girl, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. And that whole time I would have been like, but God, you never showed me. You never told me. How could I have possibly known? But then it would be, well, no, I sent those tests. I sent those trials, and you kept on trying to avoid them. You kept trying to run away from them. You kept trying, you didn't want to go through it. And I think that's why when hard times hit us, we have this aversion to difficulties. We want things to get solved right away. But what if the purpose of that test, that trial, that storm is so you can see where you stand? Because at least when you know, then you'll go to God. What is the solution?
Yes.
How do I get better at this? Where do I need to make the correction? Where do I need to renew my mind? But unless I get tested, how do I really know how I'm doing? How do we know how our marriage is doing if our marriage doesn't go through any tests?
Yes.
If we don't go through any trials? And then later on in life, our marriage is just superficial. It's shallow. It crumbles because we didn't take the time, or we didn't face the trial. Yes, to
situation.
Exactly, to build the marriage. So if there are cracks in our marriage, God sends a test to expose that crack for both of us. And then we together can team up and say, okay, how do we close this gap? How do we close this crack? That strengthens our marriage. So years from now, when another test comes, it doesn't even affect us because we at least saw.
We've been through
it, yes. And we saw those issues, and now we resolve them, and we have a stronger marriage because of that.
And that's where someone might say, "Oh, why is there joy in when I find out?"
Like, you mean be happy that I'm going through tests? Yeah.
Well, watch this. Not only that you're going through tests, if you find out that your foundation is weak, be thankful. That's where the joy also comes in. Be thankful that God is being merciful to reveal. Don't let it be a case of exposing, so that you're in shame. Let God reveal. That's why He wants you to rejoice. Look at it as revealing what is happening in your life, to say, God, I realize I am not where I'm supposed to be. Please help me. And the joy comes when God, look here, one thing I learned about God, whenever you're at a point where you're saying, I don't know, we're reading this morning. The scripture where Mary.
In John 20, when Mary Magdalene went to the grave to find Jesus' body, it was not there.
Yes, because one of the things that came to me while I was reading that, the disciples, the men,
Peter and John,
they went and they were like, oh, Jesus is not here. Okay, we believe he rose. Let's go about our business. They're like, okay. But when Mary came, she was concerned.
She was weeping.
She was worried.
Looking for her Lord's body.
Jesus, where are you? What happened? She was concerned. She was what? They believed. They knew what happened.
And they left her.
They left her. They
went home.
But she was like, God, what should I do from here? God, what? And that's why I believe the angels
appeared, and then Jesus
appeared. Can you imagine? Jesus didn't appear to
Peter or John.
He didn't. Because they knew what was going on. They were confident.
And they went on about their business.
They seemed like they had a good foundation. So when it happened, they're like, okay, we knew this would happen. Let's move on. But because she was at a state, Lord, help me. What is happening? God was like, oh my gosh, someone finally reached that point. That's where the joy comes in. Peter and John was joyful, but no, God is saying, be joyful, because that's the time I want to come and help you.
And the powerful thing about that is Mary, once she got her faith, after realizing that was the Lord, He sent her to go to the disciples and tell them what happened. Imagine, she's the one that carried the gospel technically. She went to the apostles and the disciples and said, and she relayed to them everything that took place. So this was a woman who had lost hope because she can't find her Lord's body. She can't even tell it the gardener. She thinks it's the gardener, but it's the Lord. She sees the two angels. The same woman that had the weeping going on in her heart, then joy finally came, and she ran to the disciples and told them what took place. So just like that, in that quick moment, her weeping went away. And I think that's the beauty of trials, is that they're not forever. They're temporary. They're not meant to permanently keep you in a state of discipline or agony or suffering. They're temporary. And it works. That verse continues to go on to say that, our trials, and they bring about perseverance, and perseverance brings about hope, and hope brings about this. So there's so many benefits and beautiful outcomes of going through a test and trial that, yes, while you're going through it, it sucks. Like, it hurts, and you're like, you want to rush out of it. But if you can keep your focus on the fact that God promised us in his word by his spirit through James, I believe, that these trials and tests you go through are going to be for your benefit. They're going to bring you to a place where you're thriving in your faith, you're thriving in your life, and you have more patience, you have more humility, you have more there's so many good outcomes of tests and trials, and we tend to fixate on the storm impacts and how we have to recover, and we lost a lot of things. But what do you gain from all of it? You gained so much more than what you had before the storm even came.
Let's step a bit now from, let's say, so we received the storm, it's now here.
Yeah.
But how you respond is important.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How you respond after the storm, it says a lot.
Yes.
So the storm came. Not many around our area were affected. However, as we travel more west of the island, more bay, closer to that side of the island, that's when you see more devastation. And that's when we also see more houses that didn't have the right foundation. So I can imagine a lot of those persons were the ones who were really affected. Persons who had their structure house, not much damage, very few if any. There are persons I saw sending videos around blaming the government. I mean, not even blame, blasting the government. Mind you, these persons I'm talking about, they're in one of the government shelters. Government run shelters. They're like occupying these places for days, weeks.
They're giving them food.
Months, months. It was actually approaching the new year. And you know what they were saying? Actually, one of those centers was occupied inside of a high school. And they said they're not leaving that school. And I'm like, you mean they're not leaving school?
The kids have to go back to school.
Kids have to go back to school. And there was nothing in these persons' voice that said they were grateful for what the government.
They were so entitled.
Watch this now. So remember, God is the ultimate one that should come through for us and to get the glory at the end of the day. I remember I was watching this video with this lady. I remember, they're seeing all these, one of the things the man was talking about was that they're seeing all these help come to them, and there's nothing to suggest that the government, it's coming from this organization. These persons have to come from overseas to help them. The government is not helping them. Watch this now. This video I watched, this lady, she did such a wonderful video. At the end of the day, she spoke of the same thing, of some persons affected probably in different areas saying the government is not doing enough. You know one thing she said? She said at the end of the day, a lot of these organizations, they had to come through the ODPM, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, run by who?
The government. The same government that they're blasting.
Same government that they're blasting. And she said, these persons that seem like strangers that's going in the community, the government agency, they delegate these persons to distribute these supplies. Can you imagine that? Think about this for a second. Don't you think God knew that those persons would be affected? I believe God moved on those persons' heart who contributed to the government agency to help these persons. So not only is it coming from the government, it's coming from where? God. If you think about it, watch this now. I was sharing with someone that when you look at these persons that were helping this community, not one of them will have a shirt that label government.
There's nothing to indicate that they're from the government.
Nothing.
But they were.
Same thing. Nothing to indicate that God sent the government, laid on the heart of the government to help the people, and for those people who wanted to help to move and to reach out to the Jamaicans to help them. No one even knew that. But that's the thing with God. When it comes to God, God moves in mysterious ways. He comes through for us, and He expects us to give him the thanks. Yes, the government is good. Yes, the government work. Yes, these people move. But at the end of the day, we have to then say, God, I give you thanks. Because you move on behalf of the government. You allow this. They never have to give anything, in other words.
Yeah, they didn't have to.
They never had to.
Yeah, I think that's important because ultimately, as a child of God, tests and trials come from God. And there's no skirting it. Like, we all have to go through tests and trials. And so when you're faced with them, your response does determine how you move from there. Because an ungrateful spirit, why would God continue to bless that? Right? So our response to these storms, they must be in line with a heart that understands, first of all, God is my God. He's going to protect me. He's going to take care of me. And number two, if anything goes on in my life, good or bad, God is either causing it or he's allowing it. One or the other. Our lives are not just this random void where we have this supreme universe just making random decisions for us. That's not the case, although there are people that believe that. But the truth of the matter is there is a God, a supreme God over all of the earth, all over the spiritual realm, everything. And he's ordering, orchestrating things for his will and for his glory to be manifested in the earth. And our job as his followers is to respond in a way that pleases him. In a way that he's like, okay, you're getting it. Okay, let's move on to the next test. Let's get a reward for passing this test. But if you keep failing, or you keep, like you said, complaining and being ungrateful, you guess what? That test gonna keep coming back around until you finally get it. Until you finally get it.
Watch this now.
And I ain't trying to be in no perpetual cycle of taking the same test over and over again.
You remember when you're used to, well, I don't know, but there's a time when you're in school and if you're not doing well, you know what the teachers may suggest? Let's have the student repeat grade.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's even worse.
Think about it. You did the test for that grade for the entire year. But because you didn't do well, you have to do it over again. Have you ever thought that maybe because of your complaint, your situation seems stuck because you're doing over the same test? God is saying you cannot move on. There are some students in school, we don't want them to move on. They're not ready to move on. Sometimes they have to force them to move on, but they're not ready to move. The question we need to ask you, are you ready? Did you pass the last test that God sent into your life?
And I think with that, in closing, right, storms are, yes, they're devastating. There's no ignoring the fact that they could cause inconvenience in our lives. They can cause hardship. But one thing about God is he restores. And we've seen that. Like, I remember when we first saw the devastation when we left, like the next day out of our home. And I've never seen anything like it. Like, my anxiety went from 0 to 100, and I couldn't even sit with myself. I started breaking down, and I just couldn't believe it. All this beautiful green and the rolling hills, and now they're all stripped of all of their
the building, the homes.
Oh my gosh, it was so devastating. But now, you know, when we leave our home and we look out, you just see nature's coming back to itself. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And as a result, we're much stronger as an island. We're stronger because of that. But I think ultimately it's the restoration of God. So he doesn't strip us away of things just to harm us, but so that we are in a place where we can finally receive that restoration. And it doesn't even compare to what you had before. Granted, you may have thought, oh, but that was better back then. But no, when God strips you like that and restores you, the thing that you get for the restoration, it doesn't even compare.
Much better.
It's much better. So, and in conclusions, storms are good, right? It's hard, but they're good for us. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You know, this applies to older people, younger people. In God's eyes, we're all kids. So we constantly need to mature. And I think that could also be another final point for me, that you never get to a state in this walk with God that you've made it or you've arrived. You could always do better. There are always going to be tests and trials to bring you closer and closer to the image of our Lord Jesus. And that's a beautiful thing and a beautiful metamorphosis that we go through in this life.
Thank you. And in my closing, I want to encourage someone not to allow ungratefulness, bitterness, and not being able to see what God is doing, even in this storm. You know, that finally, there is someone, I remember once I heard someone was, I think it was a message, but they said, even if there's a flooding and the water is on the road, be thankful it's not in your home. And if it's in your house or in your yard for that matter, but it's not in your house yet, be thankful. And even if it's in your yard, but it's not really up to your waist, be thankful. And it's just saying there's always a reason to give thanks. We don't want to be in a state where God has to hold back things from us. A few days ago, I still have on my app, on my phone, an app with the power company in this island, Jamaica Public Service, and they're still trying to restore persons' electricity.
Oh my gosh.
Up to today.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying those persons have not learned from their lesson. I'm not saying we're better. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying some persons do go through a longer storm than others. And even us can be thankful. They can still be thankful. You know why? Someone still remembers them. God still remembers them. God is coming with that restoration, as you said. So there is still joy even in their storm. So sometimes we are worrying about what's going on. Some people right now don't have no light since last year. Last year, like what? August? September? No, around October?
No, around October. It was right after your birthday.
They still haven't got electricity up to today. So at the end of the day, we have a lot to be thankful for. And don't let God have to bring us through another storm.
And don't complain.
Don't complain.
Because God hates complaints.
Anyway, that was the end of our discussion today.
Thank you guys so much for... I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode, which has been long overdue. But we're grateful and thankful.
And we're back.
Yes, and we are back. And we look forward to more and more dialogues in the future. So be sure to subscribe if this is your first time. Hello. Give us a thumbs up because it helps push the video out in the algorithm. And please leave a comment below. Tell us what was your highlight. What was your key takeaway, your big takeaway from this video? And we look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Morgan Dialogues.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You still said Morgans with an S, but that's okay.
I know. I was like, oh,
I don't think they